Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. Today we're going to do a pool review, dungeon review of a Tazavesh Streets of Wonder at a plus 11. I will be honest, neither of the Tazavesh dungeons are my favorite, but this is a better one of the two in my opinion. So with that being said, let's get started. So we'll see on this first pool. I like to get up there first and be in the middle of everybody because this first pool can be a pain if you don't get threat on everybody immediately because there's so many hard-hitting attacks. I've actually seen part of my group, get one shot the healer like a squishy mage or something like that. So I'd like to try to be in the middle and like have Rushing Jade win ready or are already going, just to try to get that initial threat on everybody once they start. And then once combat is active, you throw keg smash or whatever to get all the threat. Now moving into the second pool, the idea was to get this first set of mobs on the left, the one on the right, and the one padding that's in the middle. So I hoping that they could pat closer to me and I could grab them. However, I used Chi Burst and it actually pulled all of the mobs in front of me because I forget how far the distance it goes. So this mess was a little bit of chaos initially. Now, on top of there being this many mobs, you also get the things you're supposed to avoid on the ground, the little beams. So it's really a big thing of just constantly moving and staying out of that stuff. I try to keep all the mobs facing me and away from the group, so if there's any frontals or anything that I'm not aware of, we can move out of it. Now, this placement on that the little beam is a little terrible. I wasn't really paying attention. I kind of walked the group through it, so it's not really helpful. But really, it's just trying to leg sweep as much as possible, keep everybody locked down, and then really just kill the caster as fast as possible. Now, the trick I like to do with this mini boss is almost try to tank him in a circle, because he has this frontal that he places on the ground. So you'll see me, I constantly move right or left and try to keep him either moving in a circle or barely moving at all, and it's just me that has to avoid the frontal as opposed to everybody has to avoid the frontal. Sometimes they do overlap like that, you have to roll out, but most of the time I'm trying to just keep him in a small confined space as possible and having the group not having the group move around and to try to get out of the way. Towards the end of the fight, you do see you have to move him more because there's just too much happening. Now with this boss, I like to just keep him in a corner facing me. I don't want him looking around or moving too much or any of that stuff. So I really try to get into a corner, move my camera up so it's like a top-down view, and I am just standing in the corner getting beat on while everyone else can move around. He does have that frontal, which is why I try to face him in the corner. He'll turn around and shoot at one person, and just that one person has to move as opposed to everybody. He does have the swirlies on the ground, and if they're placed right, you don't have to move the boss too often. So that's really helpful. Also, with trying to keep him, in one spot and facing away from everybody. That's why I like to try to keep him in the corner. Now, obviously, when he fixates, you have your group member run away and everything like that, and you go DPS that down. Hopefully, the person that does get fixated is far away. And it's not a melee, but you can't help it sometimes. And then, as you see, I just brought him straight back to the same corner. Now, the only time this is bad is obviously right here when it overlaps, the swirlies overlap. So you'll see me try to just pull him to the other side of the room, to where all of the swirlies are on that side, and we are on the opposite side. So there's nothing for us to really worry about. I can't really see the casters if the swirlies are in the way of the casters. I'm really just more worried about how much the melee DPS is having to move, because I want to try to get them to have as much uptime as possible since they're the ones moving around as much as I am, and the casters can kind of just plant if they need to and not worry about moving. So that was honestly pretty clean, in my opinion. You know, these four mobs right here are the same as the first big large pool, so try to avoid the thing on the ground and, you know, move away as much as possible. I kind of just pull everything back away from the door. It's probably a little bit more efficient if you pull into the next area. But I'm not thinking about that sometimes. I'm thinking about just trying to make sure everybody's away from the ground effects as much as possible. So you'll see me just always pulling back and trying to get everybody moving away. Now as we move on to this other, I guess, mini boss or whatever he is, it's the same ground effect you see the other pools. I try to pull him down the path kind of slowly, so when he gets down to about half health, we're then pulling the little fire dogs behind us. And the key with the fire dogs, you have to kill them at the same time. So objectively, you want to try to do AoE and kill everybody as much as possible, so the first mob is dying and then you only have to focus on the next two. I usually try to kick as much as possible. I don't want the DPS to really have to stop their DPS in critical situations to try to kick things. So I usually try to kick as much as possible to prevent you know, DPS loss from the DPS players. Now, I know on this pool in higher keys you kind of come over here and you jump on like the wagon or whatever. I have not been able to do that. Maybe it's because I play a dwarf and they have short legs and can't jump, or maybe I'm just not coordinated enough. I'm not really positive. I do know that I need to start doing that if I'm going to get into larger pools, or I mean not larger pools, but larger or higher keys. But for this pool, usually I just take the dinosaur and pull him onto the cats and just try to stand in a corner to try to mitigate as much jumping around and movement as possible from everybody. And then I usually just run straight to the next set of bosses and don't pull any trash. Now, the way I like to do these these bosses is I will take the boss and pull him to the side of the room and try to tank him in as small of an area as possible. Just because I don't want a ton of movement, and if I get the debuff, I'm not having to move a ton and, you know, drop it on my teammates or my group mates. So I will usually try to hold the debuff as much as possible on this boss in this phase, just so the DPS don't have to worry about trying to avoid each other and things like that. And then I will just move, you know, back and forth in one location as much as possible to keep the boss from moving. Now, at this point in time, I know that the second boss is going to jump out. If I'm not positive exactly what time, I will put my Black Ox statue down in the middle and it'll taunt the boss to me, or it'll taunt the boss and I can taunt from my statue, which is really helpful. And then once I grab threat on him, I just pull him straight over on top of where the last, you know, boss died. Because, you know, this debuff is going to be used for the orbs that shoot out, and hopefully I have the debuff so I can just stand on the boss and get all the orbs as much as possible. So on this time, it's the DH that has it, I believe. So it's not that big of a deal. He's grabbing all the orbs, and, you know, we just try to tank and spank at the same spot. Ideally, I would like for this boss to die in the corner, so it kind of prevents as many of the orbs flying out on to like the third part of the boss as much as possible. So you'll see me try to stay in one location. Then on this boss, I try to just DPS at the front of the room or in the middle of the room as much as possible, so we have as much movement space to avoid the orbs when needed. I don't mind having the debuff at this phase. It's not a big deal. You see me run around and try to get as many orbs as possible while the intermission phase is happening, and then I'll run straight back to the boss and try to tank them on the same spot that they are. I'm not 100% positive this is how this boss fight is supposed to be done, but it seems to work for the most part for the groups I've run with, and no one really complains. So it's the way that I like to do it the most. You will see sometimes, when your group members get stuck in the cage for this, I do like to Tiger's Lust put it on them so they can break free if I have it available. I usually try to keep it for those types of situations, and then just kill that boss and go to the next one. Now I purposely try to avoid this path that's coming up and only pull these 2 shield bombs so we can kill them quickly. I try to keep Ring of Peace up for when the shield is deployed by, the shield or the bubble or whatever you want to call it, is deployed by these mobs, so I can Ring of Peace them out if I need to, or if I don't have it, hopefully one of the other members of the group have some sort of stop that we can prevent it. I do know that leg sweeper is perfect for it, so if that's available, I will use that as well. And we wait for this path to go by, and then we go straight up to this little mini boss up here. And for this one, I try to keep tanking him in the corner or up against this wall as much as possible, so I can hit with the knockback. I'm just getting hit straight into the wall instead of being knocked all over the arena area. In this way, the DPS can kind of stay in one spot, and then the range can stay in one spot away from each other if they get this effect that's going to draw them together.
Watch your step. Dodge.
And then, same as usual, you avoid the path that's running up, and then you pull this single mob. Now, going into the postal boss, I try to run in and grab all of the trash at one time and LOS it back out of the room. I do throw my blackout statue down in the room, so it does taunt everybody that's I can't see, and once they're taunted, I can taunt my statue and they'll run outside to me, to try to prevent everybody from being blasted with random spells and everything else. And then I try to just keep everything LOS'd, and then Ring of Peace when I need to get out of the shield, and leg sweep to lock everybody down. You did see the DH did Chaos Nova, which is always great. So hopefully you get a group that has multiple stops so we can try to knock these things down as fast as possible. So you'll see that I didn't get all the mobs, so I will pull this onto the boss in a little bit once everybody seems to be in the room and close together. So you'll pull everybody on top. Now, with this boss, I try to stand in as many of these ground effects as possible. So, because I do have a bunch of movement, and it seems to be a little bit easier than having to have the priest or the healer, if you have a slow healer or ranged DPS that can't move as quickly. So I'll try to get the first one I see, and then another one of the ground effects if I can catch it.
Special coming.
And then you really just stand on top of each other, avoid any, damage that you can, and grab the cases. I usually try to grab one of the cases, just roll. You see me roll over there and just throw it in. I don't want to have the DPS do multiple cases if they can, because, you know, it takes away from, you know, the uptime that they have. And realistically, you want to try to keep them, you know, damaging the boss as much as possible. So here we just stand in it, wait, and then avoid the stuff, the areas on the ground that we shouldn't be in. And like I said, I'll grab one of the cases as soon as possible and run it where I need to go. You know, you see on that one, someone grabbed the one I was going for, so I just, you know, walked to the next one, grabbed it, and bring the boss back to where he was. Yeah, so like see me, I caught 2 of the puddle areas on that one because they were close to each other. I could do it. Now, I will say this next part of the dungeon, this little, you know, game that you play where you got to take the message or whatever to the next person over, is not my favorite part of this dungeon. I do find it kind of annoying, mainly because when I first started doing this dungeon, I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't know that there was like a specific order or whatever. You just, you know, look at your mini map now and go to the yellow dot. But I really try to get through this as quick as possible. Luckily here, one of the DPS has the message and I can just follow them and, you know, grab threat whenever the mobs come up. So it's just the same thing 2 or 3 times and you just go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. So at this point in time, I wasn't positive what was happening because I had the indication of I had the message, I was supposed to give it to them, like trade the goods, and it wouldn't work. So I didn't think I had it. So we kind of just stood here for 5 seconds trying to figure out what was going on. And I thought like the key had actually glitched out. So I'm, you know, pushing it over and over and over, waiting for it to do something. And it actually looked like the priest or somebody had it as opposed to me, which, you know, which is fine. You know, then you just tank and spank these guys.
Spread.
Try to avoid all the stuff. Leg sweep when I can, knock them all down and move. Now, I wasn't expecting this second big mob to come up, so I really just, you know, pull him or just kind of kite him down the pathway to where we need to go a little bit, and then once we get him killed, we can move to the next part, try to get in the room. You know, like I said, this isn't my most favorite part of this dungeon. It's actually, I find it kind of annoying having to do this. And I actually didn't even know the code. So I clicked the bottom one thinking it was gonna be it and got knocked away. I figured we'd skip something, so I was ready to go try to figure out where we needed to go, do what we needed to do. Now this part of the dungeon, I don't know who is supposed to get what instruments. I usually just take the saxophone or whatever this is. I can't tell in the video. I usually just grab the horn and stand at the front. I'm not exactly positive the point of this part of the dungeon. I just use my debuff, you know, and follow the triangle that or the circles he puts on the ground. Sometimes I'm not even in the right order. I just do it, waiting for the bosses to start. So if anyone has an idea of why we need to do this, let me know. I really don't have any idea. But this part, I really just try to keep all the mobs together, avoid things that I need to. You just see I put my Black Ox statue down because sometimes the mobs are spread apart and I can't grab threat on them when they teleport out. I don't want them like free casting on the DPS players.
Defensive.
Scrabbling after any shred of control.
Again, play my instrument, wait for the next set of mobs to come up. I didn't do that one, that pattern correctly. Then you grab this first boss. Now I tried to hold, you know, my tempered potion for this part of the boss fight. Like right when he puts up his shield, so you can try to burn it down faster. I actually rolled too far here, you see, and I had to come back. I am pushing my, you know, extra action button to get the music notes I'm supposed to get on the ground. I'm not really, like I said, I'm not positive why I need to do that, so I kind of just do it whenever. But it's just, you know,
Defensive.
get rid of the shield and just tank him down. Avoid the stuff on the ground. Rinse, repeat, like most bosses, you know. They do the intermission, you do the same thing again afterwards. It was actually this shield. I wasn't positive we were going to get it down. It seemed like it was really slow compared to the first one. But I guess like someone was holding their
Spread.
their DPS, you know.
Shockwave.
I'm actually moving to try to get someone to
Shockwave.
grab my Zalata buff. And it's unfortunate, like one of the DPS died there. I actually wasn't positive what killed them. So we'd had a pretty clean run up until then.
My establishment would not survive another.
Now it is at this point in time that I've looked and I've seen that we are short like 5%. So I'm trying to figure out where I want to go to get this 5%. And realistically, the best option is to just grab the pat that's moving around. I was just going to go up to the boss and then come back down to do it, but it made more sense just to grab them now, kill them really quickly. And you see, I actually just, I accidentally pulled that group and then I pull the pad as well. So we're going to be over %. It's, you know, a minor error that I had, but it it's all right. Actually, that ring was really terrible. Instead of just moving the shield mob out of it, I literally put it in the middle and I moved everybody around, so it was hard to get everybody grouped back up. So our DPS is really low on this pool. We probably could have killed it a little faster if I would have just kept everything stacked. But you know, it's one of those things where you know, proper placement of Ring of Peace is probably the better idea, or just use leg sweep to knock them, to prevent it. So after we get up to 100%, I'm checking my time and I know we can't 2-chest this, though we're going to 1-chest it. But it's really just on this boss, I'm thinking I have to make sure I use the right teleporters in the right situations. Sometimes I get tunnel vision on just killing the boss and I don't move properly and I mess up where I'm supposed to be teleporting and it can cause us to wipe. So I'm really focused on going to the right place at the right time. So you see me kind of just tank him in the middle at first, waiting for the area of which I need to move. And I notice I got to go to circle. I got to be in circle. So I slowly walk over, teleport into circle, and then, luckily I'm in the right location for the wall to be split. And it's just wait for the next one. See here, I realize, okay, I got to get to square. So I luckily get to square quickly. I could have waited until the circle had passed triangle instead of trying to rush it. But I got a little jittery and went quickly as opposed to just taking my time. And that's really how I do this fight. I get a little jittery about where I'm supposed to move as opposed to just taking my time and being calm. So again, I know I got to get the circle. So I'm trying to figure out how do I do that. I go to triangle. I go back to triangle and I'm like, oh, I got to go to square now. And it's not one of those things where I'm thinking I need to get to where the circle started as opposed to just being inside of the circle. And that's the problem here. So I know that triangle is safe right now, but I could just wait and go and I could go now to circle, which I do. And I'm like, oh no, I gotta actually go to square, and I mess this up. And I go through the circle, and it's gonna do a lot of damage. So I actually press almost all of my defenses at one time to keep me alive, and I'm healing as much as possible, just self-healing to try to prevent from dying. So like that was the one major mistake on this one was I didn't focus on where I needed to be and where the boss was going to end up. But it luckily didn't cause us too many issues. We didn't wipe or anything. And we actually timed the dungeon, which is good. And that will conclude the breakdown of a plus 11 Tazavesh Streets. Now, if these are videos you enjoy, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and comment down below anything that I can change and do better. And stay tuned because there will be more taking breakdowns for dungeons for all 6 tanking classes. Appreciate it. Talk to you guys later. Thank you.